Hey Rally Besties, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well. Today is a really exciting video because I'm going to be doing a podcast style reflection video on 2023 and also some goals around, surrounding writing in 2024 and everything like that. And I am so late to this. Like, so many other author tubers have done that, and I think that's why I got a bit of like FOMO. I'm like, I want to do this, kind of like an at-length video. And I did do a video where I was kind of like planning and reflecting on my projects. Go check that out if you haven't already seen that as a main channel video. But I wanted to do more of a podcast style where I just chat more at length, and I'm also going to be talking a lot about lessons I learned during 2023. So if you're up for that and just like learning some wisdom, I think I learned so freaking much this year. So I'm excited to get into that, and of course some 2024 goals for writing. So it's 4 parts to this little episode. I'm going into projects I worked on, progress in writing, things that I learned, and then some goals for 2024. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and of course Happy New Year. Again, this is probably really belated because it is literally January 1st for me right now because I'm in Australia. So Happy New Year, I guess. But let's go ahead and get on to the video. Let's go. Let's first talk about projects I worked on. Okay, projects I worked on. These are books that I progressed in, hopefully. The first thing that I was able to do was actually finish draft 2 of Project Ghost, which is Ghostside now. I've declared that to the world. It's going to be my debut novel that's literally coming out this year, I hope. I'm working through edits right now, so kind of like thinking about where it was at the start of the year is crazy. If you guys don't know, it was a NaNoWriMo project the year before in 2022. So in 2024, I kind of just like revised it quite a lot. And then had a manuscript, which I can hopefully start, drafting more and hopefully start querying, which I also did this year, which we'll get into, but that was really fun. I finished Project Ghost Draft 2. In February, I got distracted, as all writers do. I had a new idea for a project, which is Project Orchestra, and I ended up writing that during my travels to Hong Kong since it was my birthday. I turned 19 this year, which is really cool, and I was able to get sent to Hong Kong to visit some family and write. And I love writing and traveling, and something really interesting about that too is I am going overseas again. I'm going overseas during January, which is literally like 12 days away. Oh my gosh, it's kind of crazy. Like, I'm literally packing like on my floor. My whole room's a mess, by the way. So I'm packing right now, and I'm going into like a colder climate since it's like literally summer here in Australia. So I'm gonna be going to Europe for an exchange. Oh my gosh, I'm going to the Netherlands. So if you're in the Netherlands, we can meet up. I feel like I'm so much closer to everyone being in Europe, but I'm just so excited to go and to like study and travel. So I'm so excited for that. I'm actually going to Japan for a little bit and then heading to the Netherlands. So travel writing vlogs are coming. And I ended up finishing that like a couple months later. I wrote the draft 0, the 0 draft. I have lots of vlogs, lots of updates. I have like a whole highlight reel on my Instagram. Go follow my Instagram _AnnaNew. But yes, Project O was literally such a passion project, and I think reflecting on it now, I really need to get that out of my system. That sort of new idea that just like captured me. It's such a nostalgic sort of like thrilling feeling, and I will for sure do that whenever I come up with a new book idea. I'll just drop everything and write it. That's what I love to do. So yeah, I just needed to write a historical fiction, and I did. So that's really cool. Okay, next up, Project BB. I kind of worked a little bit on Project BB this year. Not too much. I basically was through finals and through like not high school. I don't go to high school anymore. I sure hope not. I was going through lots of like exams and assignments during uni. I'm in second year law school. It was getting a little bit stressful during especially semester 1. So I just decided to return to Project BB and kind of write a little bit more like a plot, because I still have I've basically written half the book. And the book's basically about a thief who steals the prince, and I don't know what the heck happens after that. So I was thinking of whether I should stop the book and make a new book, stop the book period, or continue writing the book as I planned. So I basically just plotted a little bit as I was studying, and that was kind of like what I worked on. So Project BB, kind of still in the midst. I definitely want to see if I can query it maybe, and maybe just finish it next year. So that's also up there. And then also big update. I worked on Project Ghost quite a lot, Ghost Side, because I got an editor, which is another big update. So cool. That experience is amazing. I'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. But Ghost Side, oh my gosh, this book has become such a staple in my life. I adore it. While I was doing my exams, I decided I wanted to self-publish a book during 2023, which was obviously this year. And it was kind of crazy because I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm actually going to do this. And I literally decided that while I was doing my exams and supposed to be studying. So I basically just like dropped everything, was like editing my book. So that was really interesting. Project Ghost, I guess. Next up, we have short stories. Basically, I started to share my short stories and poetry on my Instagram this year. It's crazy because I did have a poetry account like a couple years ago, but I never really posted it like on my actual account. I've shared some poetry on my YouTube also recently. So like just sharing that part of myself was also such a big update for my writing. And then I actually got noticed and was reached out to by Salgo Diaries, which I'll talk a little bit about next, but I was able to actually publish a short story and poem, which was so excited. But I'll talk about what they mean and kind of like the importance of that soon. I also was able to work on Project Samson a bit. I have a couple videos on Project Samson, and it's such an interesting project. I love it. A lot of people are really curious about it. It's kind of like a novella, very much Anna New Coded. Like Anna New Coded for me means like, you know, a sort of world that isn't fantastical. It's kind of like Ghost Boy vibes, where it's kind of like there's a weird like anti-apocalyptic vibe to Project Samson. So it's kind of like fantastical in that way, but not fantastical in a magic way, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like that sort of Anna New Coded. We should like trademark that. Anyways, that's all my projects. Woohoo! I talked for like 10 minutes. That's so great. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to progress and writing, so the updates that I've done. I worked on 3 to 4 projects and kind of finished around 2 to 3, which was really cool. I also think I didn't mention that I did technically also finish in January Project Prison. So that's probably like 4 or 5 projects, which is crazy. I think I was supposed to work on the first draft of that, but I got distracted by Project O. That's exactly it. So I like finished the 0 draft. I'm like, okay, let's work on it. And then I'm like, Project O. Just like one single idea about a violinist meeting like a conductor. Okay. Yeah. Don't blame me, okay? The second progress I made in writing, of course, is editing. I got an editor, as I said, and the amount of feedback I got, I did do a podcast episode on that where I talked about how like broken I felt basically of giving my project to someone who like so deadpan, like the deadpan sort of comments you get are like they're objective and they're helpful and they're good critiques, but that just like cut my soul. And I think I've realized this year as well, that I'm very, very sensitive as a person and little things get to me. Like, although I know, for example, with editing, like they're wanting to help me and that's just how they are. Like they're an editor, that's how they write. They're very deadpan, they're very objective, they're very unbiased. But yeah. I'm sensitive, okay? I'm published. I have published with Sad Girl Diaries. I have it linked down below if you guys want to check that out. Please read it. I had so much fun. Like I worked on it for like I think 3 months. The poem is called A Big Word for a Woman, which I already had posted on my Instagram, and I decided to expand that in a short story. So the short story is called She. A lot of you guys have actually read it, which I am so happy for. I love you all so freaking much, but that like story is my whole life. It's insane. I want to read it again right now because that's probably the most proud piece I have during 2023. It's like the epitome of what I felt during this year, which is insane. It's sort of like a really harsh reflection of who I am. So if you want to learn about me, read that story and read that poem. I encourage you to read the poem first and then the short story She. So yes, please read it. I'll have it linked down in the description. Also a query experience I queried this year as well. But yes, I have a whole querying vlog about it. You guys can be the judge of my crying and sobbing in that video. So yeah. I don't even want to think about it really. Like people ask about like my querying experience and I'm just like, yeah, yep, don't do it. Don't do it. And like, I did find that I was a bit jealous of like other writers who were getting so much success, even like on Instagram. And I was just getting so much jealousy, like even like watching, Chris MF's videos. I love her so much, but I just like found myself getting like, oh my gosh, like, is this really how it is? But knowing that she struggled so much, and all writers struggle so much to that point, it really kind of helped me get things in perspective. But I always kept thinking like, why not me? And then of course that really taxed on my mental health. I cried so much during those months. I cried for 3 months. I don't even know when. I can't remember or want to remember, but good luck to anyone who's basically going into querying. I want to definitely try to query since I've like had that experience next year through a fantasy project, which I'll get into when I talk about my goals, but that's sort of my experience with querying. That's why I decided to self-publish, because I have lots of thoughts about the book industry, which I will not get into in this episode because I already talked about it basically. Last thing that I had progressed in this year is meeting a lot of new writers, meeting a lot of you guys. I feel like it was crazy. I reached 50k this year and I started to really hone in and focus on my podcast. I think I ended up like posting 2 episodes a week during the first start of this year, which was literally insane. I don't know why I did that, but slay, I guess. And then through my podcast especially, I was able to meet so many of you guys, all amazing writers like Kelly. Oh, I love Kelly. She's the sweetest. Yeah, I met Lee from Lee Crescent Books. I met Ashley. I made such a good friend with Ashley. So she's like one of my best friends. I met Gabe. I met Tiana. I met so many beautiful people, and I'm just so glad that I met y'all. Ace writes. Oh, I love you all, especially on Instagram. And I also took my Instagram really seriously. Go check out my Instagram also if you haven't seen my like 2020 review little spiel. I talk a lot about what I've learned and silly stuff, so go check out my Instagram. But thank you so much for all those who I met through especially Instagram and my podcast, because I love you all. I love you all so much. Okay, so the third part of this video is talking about the things that I learned during 2023, and this is probably like the best part of the video because I'm going to talk about some advice I basically have, and the amount of stuff I learned during this year is crazy. Kind of coming from editing and that sort of perspective, I did learn the importance of having an editor, and that's also kind of why I want to maybe change my major this year to maybe go into creative writing instead of like international relations and politics, since I'm doing a double degree, because I've learned how important it is to get feedback. And I know Kelly Writes shares this a lot on her podcast. YouTube channel, about the importance of like having like a beta reader, having like a writer friend who can give you feedback, but also like having like people objective from your life, like someone who you don't really know. It's really important to get feedback from them because you need that tough love, and I think I really needed that tough love. The next thing I learned as a writer, which is so freaking true, if you're going to take anything from this episode, take this. Listen to Ciro's. Oh my gosh, y'all, like you don't even understand. Ciro's has become my new Phoebe Bridges. So if you love me, listen to Ciro's. Let me list some songs so you can actually have some homework for this video. Please listen to Roadkill by Ciro's. Amazing. And also End of the World by Ciro's. Those 2 songs, please listen to them. Please go listen to Ciro's. Last thing that I learned during 2023 was that you should read Franz Kafka. You should read Franz Kafka. I think reading classics really did open my eyes to the hope I have now for writing. I'm reading This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I know Chris MF really loves him, so I'm gonna give him a go. Anyways, I'm adoring that book so much. And I also read Clockwork Orange. I read Franz Kafka, like The Trial, Metamorphosis. Those sorts of books opened my mind and gave me hope for the writing community and for actual meaningful work. Read classics. It will help you so much as a writer. It's so crazy. And I think especially Franz Kafka as like an image especially has helped me realize the I don't know, it's really hard to describe. I realized like with writing, to me, and my sort of, again, cynicism about the book market and how like commodified it's become, how it's all just numbers now. I'm realizing through Franz Kafka the sort of like the way that he has no end to a lot of his projects. Like his stories really a lot of them were unfinished. I have this written down where people can't edit a painting, so why should people be able to edit a book? And I understand like books have structural things, it has a sort of science, but I still don't believe book writing or writing in general is a science. Like if something's painted by a famous, painter like Michelangelo, like you can't edit that. You can't like add brush strokes to it. It's how it is. Anyways, that's what I learned from Franz Kafka today. Okay, let's move on to the last part of this video. I know this video is probably really long. Thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. It is really thundering out there, but I'm really excited to get into the goals. This is really, really interesting. Goal number 1 is to prioritize writing instead of YouTube. Okay, I have made it pretty clear that I prioritize YouTube over my writing, which is kind of crazy because my YouTube is about writing. Seems counterintuitive, but I really do love this channel so much, and I love making content just as much as I love writing. But I really do want to see if I can prioritize writing like a lot of other author-tubers do. I recently did hit 80k, which is crazy. I wanted to do that, before the end of 2023, and we did it. But I didn't feel this sort of sense of like, oh my gosh. I was just like, oh, cool. And I think that's me kind of like, leaning into more writing and kind of committing more to that in my focus and my sort of pride towards my writing. And YouTube is simply just a means of inspiring people. And I think like that's the major thing. Like I love you guys so much, but I think I really want to like focus on writing so that I can also inspire other people through my writing, not just my videos, if that makes sense. So I do really want to prioritize writing this year. Another big goal is to publish Ghostside, my debut novel this year. I'm hoping, don't quote me on this, but I will be going on exchange for like 6 months. So that's why I was going to publish like during this month basically. But I was like, no, I need to relax, chill out. And I want to see if I can publish the book while I'm home and like, situated, so I can maybe do like signings if you guys want me to like send you signed copies and stuff like that. And it's just a lot easier, and it gives me a lot more time to think about the project and also just focus on uni and life. And also just be at a right time where I want to self-publish my first ever book. And I'll be 20 by the time I publish, and hopefully it's around the later half of the year. Hopefully. So stay tuned for that. And of course, with that, throughout the 6 months that I'm away, I want to continue marketing my book. I call it marketing. It's just kind of like sharing stuff about my book, which is so fun. So I want to continue, of course, kind of sharing about Ghostside and stuff like that, getting people excited and getting like a more following, not just from my videos, but also from my book and my hype around that. I also want to write a fantasy book, or maybe work on Project CZ or Project BB. I want to work on some sort of fantasy work. So I can query it by the end of the year. Yes, I want to be a hybrid author. So hopefully my publishing of my self-published book, Ghostside, will help me kind of like, I don't know, get me in the market, get my name out there so I can maybe start publishing some fantasy, since fantasy is like one of my biggest like childhood loves. I can't get the Lord of the Rings out of my head, basically. Also, I want to write short stories for fun. I remember having a goal last year about writing a short story a month, which is crazy. I mean, as I said, I share my short stories on Instagram, so I think I want to do it like every like couple weeks, and I want it to be a spontaneous thing where it's kind of like more of a writing exercise that I do every so often, not like dedicated towards you have to do this. So we'll see how that goes. I just want to write a lot more short fiction and maybe start querying that and applying that, submitting it to literary magazines to maybe just try some stuff out and just like have some fun, since I know that's really also a good thing to kind of like gain confidence and just practice by doing shorter things, you know what I mean? So that's something I want to do. That's kind of it, actually. I just looked down at my list. The last thing I really have on my list to do during 2024 is read more prose. I want to read more books and write more poetry. So yeah, that's my last goal, to basically read more and write more poetry, because I love poetry so much. And I think shorter form, like it kind of goes like books, short stories, poetry. So I think like poetry, short story, books will like help ever increase my writing skills and stuff like that. So that's kind of like all my goals, basically. I have finished that huge list on my phone. I think my phone's dead, basically, so perfect timing. Anyways, I love you all so much. Thank you for watching the end, until the end to this video podcast thingy bajiggy. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, it's probably like very belated, but I hope you're still curious about my successes and my sort of stories and lessons that I learned during 2023. And I wish you all the best in your projects. And I just know we're going to succeed in 2024. I love you all so much. Bye, everyone. Happy 2024.
I won't say a thing, I won't tell you how I'm gonna drive my mind like a limousine, picking up the wide-eyed people, housing tired satin clothes, my heart's the lie caught in